And this is Poka Lainui. You are listening to KWI at 1080 on your AM dial. We'll be right back after this song. This is Martin Pahinui and Beautiful Ilima. Brother Martin, take it away. Aloha Hawaii and welcome back to the program. This is Poka Lainui. It is now 4:36 and you are listening to Hawaiian Potpourri on radio station KWAI 1080 on your AM dial. We had a caller on the line and we still have him on the line. We'll get back to the caller. But the song in the background by Brother Martin Pahinui is Beautiful Ilima. So I'm going to ask the caller to identify what island is this Ilima flower for. Hui, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, Ilima flower. You get one contest question. I don't know what you're going to win. But what is the Ilima flower? For what island does it represent?
Lima flower.
It's a hard question, you know. What island are you from, by the way?
This island.
Hey, you got it. You win.
You won. But do I win?
I don't know what you win. You win my appreciation.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, we were talking about the situation in planning.
Yeah.
And you were talking about I guess the urban sprawl and
Yeah. Yeah. To me, I think the rail just not going to work. In a fashion, and I don't think we got the population to, in a way.
to
if
support
you look
rail.
at around this island, it's mainly residential homes,
Mm-hmm.
and places that has rail is got nothing but skyscrapers every square feet, apartment buildings, condominiums. So the population is there, and basically people who live in apartments and condominiums, they don't really own cars as much as
Traffic is hard and
compared to residential homes that own cars. So people who own cars, they're going to use their cars, and this is going to be a financial disaster for Hawaii. That's for sure. The other thing about Ho'opili, they're talking about the developers. They're talking about putting land aside for agriculture.
Yeah.
To me, I think that's a farce because you don't put a farming area close to a community. The community is going to, complain about the dust flying up in the air and things like that. And also, I think that the community would possibly going to want things for their community like parks, shopping centers, and other things. And that piece of land they put aside for agriculture is going to be lost. And once you lose agricultural land, you're going to lose it forever. But on the other problem on this situation is the construction workers there. At the same time, you don't want them to go on welfare. I heard one of the solution was to turn all the construction workers into farmers, but that's going to be one hard thing to change, and their lifestyle and stuff. But you have a solution for that?
Yeah. I got solutions but nobody agrees with me. That's a problem.
Oh, what was your...
Okay, step number one is that we have allowed the use of jobs as an excuse for qualifying certain projects because it'll create more jobs.
Yeah, that's true too. But
And labor unions have been guilty of participating in that. So that whenever what someone had once said to slop the swill to the swines, just say, oh, we're going to give you more jobs, and then they come in and they say, okay, we support any development because it's going to give us jobs. Finally, people need to say that you cannot use the excuse that it puts food on your table to end up depriving my family and my future and the future of my children from food on their table with this excuse of it's putting food on my table. You cannot use it as an excuse simply because I will make more money, then I can deprive the quality of life from the rest of the people. That's a cheap way of dealing with society, and we should not let that pass any longer. Now, the idea of converting construction workers to farmers
Yeah.
is nonsensical because, in essence, for Ho'opili, you are actually taking farmlands out of farming and making it into residential. So it's the direction of the change is directed towards not returning it back to farmlands. And you're not going to create more jobs out of residential areas. You're going to have to find jobs for more residents as you encourage them to come in and live in this area.
Mm-hmm.
So this whole idea of turning construction workers into farmers is not going to work. And you do not take an individual and just try to change his trade and use that as an excuse. You know, when agriculture started to lose strength in Hawaii, when sugar workers were said, well, let's convert them from agriculturalists or from what is that, monocrop
Yeah, yeah,
agriculture, and make them farmers.
yeah.
Those are completely different trades, and that has not worked. You know, some people, yeah, they can become planters and all that stuff, but farmers require a particular
Skill
trade,
or
particular
education.
skill, knowing how to do your business
Yeah.
rather than just burning the fields at one time. And although it seems like, well, you're still raising crops, yes, but as an individual farmer, as opposed to an employee for a major what do you call it, sugar company or pineapple company, completely different.
Yeah. What happened to all the farmers that worked on the sugar cane and I guess some pineapple fields? They had to close up, and
Hmm.
kind of wonder what happened to all those farmers. Did they convert themselves to another trade, or?
Yeah, I don't think it was really as a group. The attempt was to try to transfer some lands to them, sell lands cheap to them, but it really didn't work, and they didn't become farmers in the end. Of course, you had some who took advantage and were able to make that transition, but a lot of them were not able to do it. So they went out into different kind of employment, or became unemployed, or just got old and retired,
Mm.
because you had a lot of them who were already in the upper ages, you know.
Yeah. So if we just keep the land like agriculture for Ho'opili,
Hmm.
what is the I guess the solution for the construction workers? You don't want them to go on welfare, yeah, at the same time. Um, uh,
Well, there's
yeah.
many other construction besides building homes, and then you change your employment and find other type of employment like everyone else
Yeah.
who needs to move on. But you shouldn't build homes just so that you can make work for people. That's it doesn't really. That's not why you create jobs. You create jobs because you have an objective to build a building, make a factory, or build stores and all that kinds of stuff. But you don't build these stores just so that you can create jobs. And that is part of the nonsense that is being used. They are using the secondary result of the building to use that as a primary or as a big reason why they should be permitted to commit these kinds of stuff. So it's okay to screw it up on a long-term basis, but it's going to create jobs. There's no logic in that kind of thinking, not long-term logic.
Unless another idea I heard was to build things vertically,
Hmm. Hmm.
a building on top of another building, or go skyways
Yeah,
instead
yeah.
of what do you call that, on you
The
know
horizontal
yeah, horizontal.
style.
Yeah.
The question then becomes, to what extent do we accommodate the demand for more housing? To what extent do we accommodate the demand for population growth from people who wants to come into Hawaii?
Hmm.
And to what
Yeah.
extent do we look at what population do we commit ourselves to service? I can understand making adjustments for the population that will naturally grow out of people having children and expanding the population in that way.
Yeah.
But to try to market our lands, to try
Yeah.
to market our spaces so that other people can come in, I think is not appropriate. The developers of these marketing are not really committed to the quality of life for Hawaii. They are committed to extending or expanding their profit margin, but using the idea that we can accommodate for the increased population as an argument. But the real objective is not really to provide more housing, but the real objective is to expand their profit margin.
Hmm.
But they are trying to use this. But people are not asking themselves, why should we accommodate so more people can come into Hawaii? How do we first address the question of stopping the population growth or controlling the population growth? People are then running into this stone wall by saying, oh, we cannot even ask that question because it suggests that we are not loyal to the United States Constitution because the federal government controls interstate transportation and population movement, or what we call transmigration. So it is these gutless folks who claim to be leaders for society but are willing to allow this framework to lock them down, to be unable to look beyond what the framework will allow for. So I'm saying that in the discussion of Hawaiian autonomy, Hawaiian sovereignty, and all of these things, now you are looking at a much wider perspective as to what Hawaii can become. So let's release all of these self-imposed constraints. And only then can you do the planning that Hawaii needs to do, and then decide whether or not, given the kind of options that we have, is it best to just change the use of the lands, or should we look at other solutions to what we see as a possible problem? And that's one of the problems that, let's take the city and county of Honolulu in the Department of Planning. They are trying to plan for the year 2035. And in that planning, they are saying, let's look at the trends and patterns of what we have been seeing based on statistics that we now have. We are projecting that in the year 2035, 25 years from now, or that was about 2 years ago when they were doing that planning, we are projecting that you will have population moving into this area. So how do we prepare for the population? Do we build a rail? Do we create more housing, etc., etc.?
Yeah.
But that's not really planning. That's simply saying we already locked ourselves into this trend rather than trying to create different options for the trend, stopping the trend, moving the population in different places and the rest. So you're not having leadership in that department. All you are having is people knee-jerk reaction as to what does the colleges that we come from tell us when we already have people there. But you working yourself in a cycle that it's not planning at all. It's like monkeys given task and how you're going to best put together one train track rather than really doing the visioning that needs to be done. And anyway, that's my critique and my solution to
Yeah,
this
just
area.
seeing some bad things ahead.
One last thing. Since you got me going and you got me mad, one last thing. When they say we're going to dedicate a few areas to farmland,
Yeah.
they're talking about gentlemen farmers. Now, what residential population is going to say, yes, it's okay to have a pig farm over here, or to have a chicken farm over here, or to have a dairy over here, or to grow any animals other than fish, because, the way I grow fish, we control the smell, right?
Yeah.
But for any other husbandry uses, they're not going to allow the pig farmers. They're not going to allow all these things. When we had Waianae used to have one of the largest chicken farms. Okay?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, they built an elementary school. It's called Maili Elementary School. And whenever it was real hot and the wind blows, the aroma that came from the chicken farm was not too pleasant for the school kids. And I understand that. But what was there first, the chickens or the kids? They're going to say, if we got to choose between chickens and the kids, of course, we're going to choose the kids. But when you build this kind of residential area,
Yeah.
and then you claim, oh, we're going to have 10 acres or 100 acres, and we're going to leave it in farmland, that's idiotic kind of talk.
Mm.
And so you have and then they hire the president of this farm bureau or whatever he is,
Yeah.
and he's now the what is that when you the puppet, yeah. So when they move their hand behind his back and then he speaks for them and he says, oh, this is good because it's good for farming. It's idiotic. This guy, what is his name? Dean Okimoto from Nalo Farms. That's Waimanalo area.
Mm.
So it's selling out the cause of farming in Hawaii.
Yeah.
So,
Trying
okay,
to-
I think I'm mad enough. Go ahead. You better say something.
Okay, Puka, I have to charge my phone. I'll call back later.
Thanks for calling. Take care. Aloha. Okay, anybody else like fight with me about this matter? Give me a call. Our telephone number here is 524-1080, and we'll give you a chance to give your opinions. I won't turn you off unless you swear at me or you scream at me. But call if you have an opinion about this matter of, one, kaka'ako, two, the style of planning for the future, three, about trains and train tracks and elevated rails, and what else? How do we convert construction workers into different jobs? I don't think you create jobs for the purpose of giving a particular job to a particular person. That's not the objective. As the economy moves on, you meet the economic needs, and then people who have those skills will fill that job. So just because you're a construction worker or a heavy equipment operator doesn't mean that you have a right to operate your heavy equipment in a particular area. If no more job, no more job. Go fishing. Go do something else. And we shouldn't be only picking on the construction workers, but that's for everything else. One person asked me when I was talking about the idea that in our independent Hawaii, we should have no more bomb makers. Okay? Because we should have a nuclear-free Hawaii. So the question comes out, well, if I want to be a bomb maker, what am I going to do in Hawaii? I said, go someplace else. That's the answer. Or change your occupation. You know, just because you like be a bomb maker doesn't mean that we have to accord for your skill development. Become a farmer. We need food more than we need bombs. So it's very interesting to look deeper into the, what do you call it, the presumptions that people make, the assumptions that people make. The question of development, and should we be in support of development or not? I've always said, yes, I support development. The only question is, what kind of development? And some people just equate growth to development. It's kind of stupid, yeah? Because cancer is growth also. But do we support cancer? I say we need to identify the appropriate type of development. Now, part of the problem is also the following, that in looking at the future of this place, there's different ways of planning for the future. It's like walking, okay? Go down to Tamura store or any store that maybe get some potholes in the asphalt and watch people as they walk. You have people, when they walk, they're looking down at their steps because they don't like stepping in the potholes, especially the old folks like me. So every step we take, we're looking at how we get into our destination. Other people, when they walk, they're looking at the dinner for tonight, or they are looking at 5 years or 10 years into the future. They are dreaming about what may become of their job. So where they're going to school. Other people, when they walk, they're looking at the mountaintops, they're looking at the clouds, they're looking into the sky, and they are casting their vision far ahead. 25 years, 30 years, when their mo'opuna come big and what this place is going to look like and how we need to preserve this place and all that stuff. Every one of them is looking at the future. Every one of them is going to the store. But they're carrying with them different visions. What happens is that oftentimes we bang bang because we have different people looking in different ways. It doesn't mean that one way or the other way is right or wrong in how we plan for the future. It means that we need to respect and understand the needs of each person as they walk. We need to respect and understand why and the conditions in which that person is found as they are trying to plan for the future. I recognize that we all need to put food on the table for today and tomorrow and the next day. But I also recognize that we also need to plan so that our oceans are not polluted, our lands are not cemented or asphalted over so that we cannot grow our own food and we become dependent on Matson lines or other lines to come in and bring food for us. We need to talk about what is our future and how do we put all these plans together rather than the knee-jerk reaction that this guy Okimoto and the people who buy him out is trying to sell us for. And that's why I have so high respect for people such as Doctor. He insists I call him Doctor. He's a good friend of mine, Michael Dudley, Keone Dudley, and others like him who are not afraid of sitting in the flow of power and say, no, just no, just like when spoiled kids, yeah? No, I'm not going along with it. Okay, we do have another caller. We only have about 2 more minutes to go on this program for this hour. We'll be back, of course, in the next hour for a whole hour. Let's go to our caller. Aloha, caller. Welcome to the program.
Aloha, Poka.
Yes, aloha.
It pains me to listen to conversations, especially if one is not as articulate as yourself, to be the very ones that should be saying their fair piece.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else, they do not know enough about the location where they're at. They're here in Hawaii first.
Mm-hmm.
And for myself, even working on, say, Oahu farmland, as truly a Kanaka Maoli that has such my na'au is of Hawaii, substantial difference with all these others that have arrived on our shores. And to have to consider their particular idea of what they see, we're not all on the same page. That's the major, major problem.
Mm-hmm.
And for myself, even sitting on a committee and being part of all that Dr. Keone Dudley is truly doing,
mm-hmm.
A semblance of what is Hawaiian. The rest of these people, their frame of mind is very Western and American.
Mm-hmm.
They're not connecting with, this is my home. They have become, as far as I'm concerned, overextended visitors or guests in my home,
Mm-hmm.
and are redesigning.
Caller, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I got to run off to the news. You can hang on. Why don't you call back, and then let's continue with this discussion. Okay? Okay, I got to run off. Thank you very much. Aloha.
Kaulana nā pua o Hawaii, Kupa'a mahope o ka aina, Iki mai ka elele o ka loko ino, Pala anunu me ka paka. Pane mai Hawaii moku o ke ave, Koku ana honoa o Pi'ilani, Ka ko'o mai ka ua I o mano, Pa'apu me ke oni o ka puhi hewa. pono si vila a o ke kanaka